Okay, we're live.
Hey, see if I can
So
share this out.
just
It doesn't show we're live on Substack yet, though. I'm trying to find this. I guess I won't see myself stream, will I? Let me check your Substack. Comics Crowd, right?
yeah, we're in the comments crowd.
So anybody's watching this, we're just trying to figure it out. Bear with us. Comics Crowd. All right. Video feature comics kicks. I see your video. I don't see it running, dude.
It's live. We've got 6 people watching.
Well, hey everybody. I don't know. I can't find it, but we're gonna just go. Let's just go. I just had Facebook up. I just saw that Laverne and Shirley was 50 years old today. I
Yeah,
remember when the show
geez.
was premiered. How's that
And I'm still
possible?
older than they are, so
Huh. I mean, that was the spin-off show. That wasn't even the original.
of old Happy Days, right?
Yes, sir.
So what was the strangest
Happy
spinoff
Days
of
had
Happy Days?
what was the strangest one? Mork and Mindy.
Mork and Mindy. Yes.
I mean, it was set in the present day, but somehow Laverne and Shirley kind of shifted to the present day while it was going on.
I
The
don't know.
Joni Love Chachi, that's the good spin-off there.
Yeah,
I watched like all 6 episodes or whatever. My sister was in love with Scott Baio.
oh, wow. Still
I thought
relevant.
that
Still
joke was a
relevant.
little yeah, so anybody watching this is like, "What the hell are they talking about? This is about comics. We should introduce ourselves."
Go for it.
Hi, I'm Martin Pierro. I am the publisher of Cosmic Times. I am now celebrating, I guess, my 17th year in business. I make all kinds of independent comics. Been doing it for, like I said, about 17 years. Having a good time doing it about half the time. So yeah, and I met Kevin in 2010, and he's been doing comics for how long, buddy?
A couple of years less than you. I guess that we're going on 16. So technically, I guess we started in '09, but really didn't make a comic until the end of 10. And
Mm.
so that's where I count us as starting when we actually put pictures on paper at the end
So
of
I met you right at the
2010.
beginning then.
Yeah.
2010 Heroes Con, right?
Yeah. Still doing it, man. Still doing it. Um,
Why are we doing this?
I still love to do it. If I just made them for myself, I would do it. I'm not even kidding. I'm that
Yeah.
obsessed with it. I'm that dedicated to it. It's something I've wanted to do since I read the first appearance of Moonstone and Incredible Hulk sometime in like 1977 or whatever.
Wow.
And
I don't
so I'm
even know
still
what issue
here
that would
doing it.
be. Wow,
Yeah.
Moonstone.
Yeah.
Was that the first comic you remember reading, or what was the first comic?
Um, I'm not sure exactly. I remember that one. I remember the first meeting between Spider-Man and the Jessica Drew Spider-Woman, which is a crazy, great comic. It's still a good read today. I remember the Shogun Warriors comics, if you remember those.
Yes.
And Godzilla,
Shogun Warriors.
where he was fighting Nick Fury and Shield. So I'm not
Yeah,
sure
those books.
where
I
they
think the
fall
Shogun
there.
books got me into the Fantastic Four. It was a great gateway drug because the Fantastic Four were all over the last few issues of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know how people get into comics nowadays, but yeah, that was similar time. Shogun Warriors, Micronauts, and Star Wars were big for me when I was
Yeah,
starting to read comics, and Spider-Man, just random Spider-Man.
absolutely. It was all Hulk for me. Some Spider-Man, found some Neil Adams Batman
Wow,
and there, and then I found the X-Men in the early '80s, which really cemented my love of comics in general.
that was serious comics. Yeah,
That's good stuff, man. Once you read that, and the Hulk stuff was so entrenched in real life emotion and family dynamics in a weird sort of way. It was really a dark comic back in the '70s, and it really captivated
would
me. So that's it still influences what I read and write today. To be honest,
would that have been parallel to the Bill Bixby show at that time or before?
right before, but it certainly changed in tenor once that show showed up because people took that show seriously. Like it was
It
considered
was a
serious,
serious show.
dramatic entertainment. Yeah,
I mean, it really was just The Fugitive where he was green instead of just
yeah,
a doctor. Yeah, but I
sure,
mean, it was a
sure.
doctor.
But it worked. He had 2 arms at least. So
One-armed man. Yeah, so it's similar time. Obviously, we're not that different in age. So, of course, my comics came from the 7-Eleven spinner rack.
Absolutely. Whatever little convenience store or drugstore had a spinner.
You'll
Yep.
forgive me. I had dental work done today, and my mouth is just still.
Man, I can relate. I just got done with some a couple of months ago, so it's part of middle age.
Yeah, not to dwell on it too much, but the guy, he puts a needle in, and it's just hurting because he didn't let the topical kick in yet. And he's like, "I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm just trying to make the pain so you don't feel pain." I said, "You're failing. You're failing at that." Oh, and that's what hurts now where the needle was put in. Ah, anyways, old man complaints. Welcome to the Old Man Podcast. Today we're going to talk about my back.
And comics from decades before anybody watching this was born. Let's talk about modern comics. We wanted to talk about the distribution wasteland that's the current state of things. And I saw right before we went live that Diamond is now in Chapter 7, which is the liquidation phase of bankruptcy. And so all of their assets, which is, I guess, all the comics they didn't send back to publishers,
Right.
are going to be
Mhm.
liquidated. I mean, who's going to buy that stuff? Like, especially for
It
any
could be.
price that's going to be usable to pay off the debts, because it's like $23 million that they owe the courts.
They're never gonna, but again, it's all weird because there's Diamond, which is still in business, and then there's the old Diamond,
Yeah,
and these lawsuits seem to be on the old Diamond, not the new Diamond, but the new Diamond's about as useless as a poop-flavored lollipop. They got that from Dodgeball. The, but it is interesting. Those books, I guarantee, give it, 6 weeks, Ollie's, you find them in all the Ollie's clearance stores or Big Lots or whatever is still in business.
I guess. I mean, they already have huge stacks of old trades that nobody wants. So
They have
we'll
pallets of
see.
action figures nobody wants too.
Yeah, we'll see. It's just such a mess, and the condition that it's left the distribution landscape in is really a shame. I know we talked about this ad nauseum the last time we went live, but it's still true. It's people like us, self publishers, almost have nowhere to go now that Diamond's out of the way. Um, Diamond was at least a gateway, even if it was a gate kept gateway
Right.
that that allowed a lot of people to get distribution that otherwise wouldn't. And now it's even worse.
I equate what happened since we first started doing this last January, to the Mad Max trilogy. If you're familiar with the Mel Gibson's Mad Max
Yeah,
trilogy,
I'm familiar.
that January where everything fell to crap, that was the first Mad Max film.
Yeah.
And these months in between is the Road Warrior, and now we're at the Thunderdome part, where what's left is Bartertown. And I guess Tina Turner would be Lunar, and what was it? The little guy on the shoulders would be Penguin.
Master
So
Blaster.
that's Master Blaster. That's that. I think that's where we are right now. So it goes the comics. You know, they got a tight knit group, and to get in, you got to pay the price. You got to survive Thunderdome or whatever. Does
That's
that
a
make
really
sense? Makes sense?
that's a really great analogy. That's a really great analogy.
Again, sorry, I keep drinking. It's just killing me,
Oh, I hear you. I hear you.
and it's
Matt,
dry.
Matt from Insymmetry says, "Sup, weirdos." Yeah, that's us.
Yeah,
Fair
and
assessment.
Matt just launched a Kickstarter, I think today? Or is that Tatsumi, Spirit Mistress issue number 2.
Cool.
And it's, obviously both issues 1 and 2. And we'll get the crowdfunding in a minute. But, I work closely with a comic shop, and we were talking about Diamond today, the current Diamond, and he told me he just received 2 boxes of stuff from Diamond that he ordered months ago that just showed up and with invoices for like $2,000 worth of stuff. And he's like, "I'm sure I ordered these months ago and I've already ordered them from somewhere else, but he just paid the bill and he's going to send them a message that says don't send us anything else." So
I
I
mean,
mean,
what's
anybody
happening
who's
there? It's
posting,
like there's just one random guy trudging through the warehouse, and he's like, happens to find an invoice blowing around like like a tumbleweed, and he's
right.
like, "Oh, I should send this out." And just, I mean, how random is this shit? It's just crazy.
Yeah, again, that was when he just told me that. That was so very random, and it's like, I don't for the last 6, 7, maybe 8, 9 months, I don't know a retailer that's even done anything with Diamond. Since they stopped the catalog, it's just been a downward. I mean, it was already in a downward spiral, but no real retailer I know has even touched anything for Diamond. The guy I work doesn't even know how to order from it now. They don't have a catalog or even a digital catalog anymore.
I mean, that Olive Branch facility, that distribution warehouse there in Olive Branch, Mississippi, was supposed to be like super high tech with all these robots. So maybe AI is taking over and is just
Yeah.
randomly sending out boxes on some bizarre algorithm.
I wish it was that way, but I'm pretty sure it's just an empty warehouse where no one, like you say, the wind's blowing through and there's an invoice in the back room or something. So yeah, again, you have Penguin and Lunar who are they're kind of hitting all the right marks as far as retailers go. I don't know retailers are unhappy with them. The only complaint I seem to hear is that they have to order from 2 different websites.
Yeah.
They wish it was back to 1. So all that talk of we don't want a monopoly, we really did want a
It was just a lot more convenient to have monopoly, just your
monopoly.
corporate overlords make it easier for you.
Yeah, at least you know the devil you're dealing with, the Jeppy family, you know? Like I said, there's been, Lunar packs their books well, I guess Penguin does the same, so it's
Now, that's an improvement as somebody who used to own a store. That is a huge improvement with it. We had damages every week for the 7 years we were open, so,
oh, sure, yeah, well, that was just part of business with Diamond, was you're
yeah.
gonna count your damages out and get your reorders in.
Yeah, Geppy owns the Baltimore Ravens. I always wonder if they were actually the ones packing the comics to come to our store. They were just
Well,
so
Imma tell you a
half-assed.
secret I was told once, that they hire day laborers. They don't hire the same employees every week.
Well,
I don't know if
good
they're
luck with
illegal
that.
immigrants or just what, but I go to Home Depot, "Who can pack comics?" And get it hop in the truck. Hopefully, that's not how it was done, but that's what I was told, that the people that you pack the comics only work the 1 day a week.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
The,
pretty crazy, but not outside the realm of possibility.
no, no. Uh, the only obviously drawback to the I mean, there's several drawbacks to the system now is it's just so much harder to get your books distributed.
Yeah.
Um, there it's I don't wanna say that Lunar's a gatekeeper. Their response to me has always been, "We just don't have the bandwidth to take on any more publishers." That we just don't have we don't have the space. Well, I mean, they built the warehouse out, so we know they have the space, but they just can't handle the influx of so many different publishers. And whether that's true or not, I don't know. So then it's left to be sub-distributed by Massive or now Prana, which in their own way is back to the whole gatekeeping thing that everybody complained about with Diamond.
Yeah, it's really bottlenecked, at at that point, and so whether they're called gatekeepers or not, they are, by necessity, if not by choice, right? I mean, this
Right.
is just the scenario that we're presented with, and it's probably not gonna change anytime soon, unfortunately, and all of these are small outfits. I mean, many is minuscule compared to Diamond, so the resources are really scant and
Well,
it leaves very little options.
I dealt with one who I think I have a bigger staff than. So that's kind of a weird juxtaposition. I'm asking for help from a company where I think I have l more resources than they do, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It's, like I said, they've been I don't know if they were given power by Lunar, Massive, and Prana, or it's just that it was just more convenient for Lunar to use them to get other publishers at least a shot at the big leagues.
Well, and probably to get those smaller publishers off their back at Lunar, because if they aren't willing to commit the resources to um, warehouse and liaise with smaller publishers, then it's not really, from their point of view, I'm sure it's not their problem. So let's make it somebody
Oh,
else's
it's really
problem
not.
to do for us, you know?
To be
It's a
honest
sad
with you,
state of affairs, but it's real. It's the reality.
with smaller publishers, you're looking at, yeah, I know many who, I know a medium-sized, almost large publisher who fails who was failing to deliver their books on time, and
Yeah.
Lunar ended up having to cut them loose. And I know Diamond dealt with it all the time with smaller publishers who either didn't get their books on time or never shipped them because of cost and low orders. So I imagine Luna looks at that like we just don't want that kind of hassle.
Yeah. Especially when they're getting done what they want to do with the big money publishers, the Marvels,
Right.
DCs of the world. So
Yeah, and the margins, they're only so I know that that from what I've been told, Lunar gives a better deal to publishers than Diamond did.
wow.
So it's a larger percentage the publishers get to take, meaning that Lunar's profit margin is so tiny between what they charge the publishers and then what they charge the retailers. You're talking less than 10% of the cover price
Yeah.
in some cases. So it's, sorry, I'm pulling pieces of teeth out. I don't know what that was just about there. Sorry, I didn't mean to reach in my mouth like that. The, so yeah, so I'm sure it's a tightrope they walk, and a few bad moves can cost them quite a bit of money.
Yeah, and a lot of their logistical efficiency too. If they've got a good thing going, they don't want to disrupt it because the transition, which I guess started in May of 2020, right in the middle of COVID, it's when DC
Yeah,
switched, right?
right after DC. Well, DC jumped. They had two different distributors for a minute.
That's
It
right.
was Lunar. I can't remember what the other was called, but the other was run by Midtown. And Lunar was
Midtown.
run
Yep.
by DCS. Yeah.
Yep.
And now there's rumors and talk that when Universal comes in, they're going to take DC from Lunar.
Wow.
So we'll see. Well, unless DC's going to do it again and have two distributors, but I don't see that working.
Oh, where does that leave the self publisher? The small time
I
DIY
think.
mom and pop. I guess just pop self publishers.
Well, I think, in my opinion, and I don't want to be critical as a self-publisher, there is a certain level of quality that you need to hit to
Right.
even begin to think about putting into the direct market. Though I do see some books distributed by Lunar that I am surprised they're actually shipped to the direct market. Some books I saw just the other day at the comic shop, but I won't get into that. The so I still think it's behooving for us to continue to strive to be at least as good as, if not better than, some of the mid-tier publishers as far as our quality of work we put out. Um, but I don't like the idea of having to depend on conventions and website sales to stay in business. Of course, that leads us to the one of the other topics we're going to talk about: crowdfunding. Um, I mean, you can make a living if you hit the right stride with crowdfunding, or at least keep your company in business. And of course, you are, as we all know, anybody who's watching this who follows the comics crowds know you're the expert on such thing, as you keep your nose very much to the grindstone on that. The That seems to be the major option unless you can curry favor with one of these sub distributing companies. My opinion.
Yeah. But those opportunities with the sub distribution are so few and far between. It leaves a lot of people stuck out in the
Right.
cold,
There's
and
two.
I think we've got to do some. And I don't have the answers to this, but my line of thinking is that we've got to do some sort of entrepreneurial exploration of other avenues, but because the direct market is not an answer for 99.9% of people who aren't already being distributed, because we're not going to get accepted by one of the sub distributors. Very few people are. I've seen a couple people that have. Um, and therefore, if we're just relying on crowdfunding, we're spinning wheels. Some people are making a killing doing this, but most people aren't. We're still
Right.
seeing the kind of middle of the road returns on most projects. I saw a little bump over the last couple of months. Um, but in general, costs are going up and funding is going down or remaining level. And remaining level means that it's still much lower than it was 4 years ago. Um, so we've got to
Well,
find some other avenues. And, I've had a little uptick in sales through my website. I've had a little uptick in sales through Kindle, Amazon. Substantial actually, but it's still a very small number. Um, and conventions are not a way to make money. There might
not
be a way to
anymore.
market, there might be a way to network, but they're just not a way to make money.
I agree, especially over the last, like, 5 years, I've seen, it used to go from me showing up at a convention and people coming to find my product to now me shouting, "Just please look at my product,"
Right.
at conventions. I think the audience is changing, the attitude toward conventions is changing, and also it's again, we talked about this many times. Back in 2010, when we started out, it was us and maybe, like, 6 or 7 other guys doing this. Now there's 6 or 700 guys doing this. I go to Heroes Con now, the whole back wall is self-publishers,
Sure.
where it didn't used to be that way. I mean, there was always independent publishers, but it does feel that the market is quite saturated, especially when it comes to comic conventions. We can talk about the quality of the books in nauseum, maybe at a different time. This isn't the forum for that. The Yeah, so yeah, conventions, but it goes we've talked about this, we need to do another summit, I do believe, but in our summit, we talked about, the value I had this concept of the wheel. The whole thing's a constant wheel that's constantly turning, and you have to pick up a customer here, a customer there, and keep them in your wheel. Keep them with your email program or your Substack program. Keep them informed about your product. Keep them knowing when your Kickstarter is, knowing when your next launch is, and if ever distributed, knowing when your distribution is. Because I don't think a single avenue that we currently have our toes in is enough to support what we're doing. You have to have it all, if not more, and the work that falls to us as publishers to keep the wheel turning and keep pulling, hopefully, a new customer in with every turn of the wheel. But as you mentioned, with even just distribution, I know plenty folks who are being distributed who aren't making their grade. Companies that perpetuate that they're successful, but when you actually look at the bottom line, they're losing money. They have some
Yeah.
kind of backing money involved. There's just no way they're actually covering cost. So again, it has to be part of something bigger than just that avenue, in my opinion. Again, obviously, I'm sure somebody will come and argue that we're making a mint in the direct market, but I don't know.
I'd like to see those numbers.
Oh, me too, me too. I was in one of my meetings, I was informed that Lunar it isn't a dollar amount they look for, I'm not gonna say what it is here. It isn't a dollar amount they look for in sales for a particular title, it's unit numbers, which is different than what Diamond was. Diamond was
Sure.
if you marked your book up to $8 and sold 100, they were happy. But, with, and the number's really low, dude. I've never if I had the number their benchmark to stay in their catalog I would not have printed the books if
And the market has
when I was
shifted that way. I mean,
no.
even Marvel and DC are struggling with volume, outside of the absolutes of the world, of course,
Well, Marvel chokes, still to this day, it continues to try to choke the direct market with just quantity of titles.
and
I
covers.
just well, God, I just I was talking to a guy that buys all the GI Joe and Transformer variant covers, so I got a problem. The but I have a whole long box of just the Energon books, and there's only like 20 of each title, but I have a whole long box full of them because of all the variants. I have a problem, but we won't get into that. That's my 5-step program. The but Marvel, I was just going through Lunar's catalog, and Marvel is putting out like between one shots and miniseries, like 20 new in the month of April. 20 new one shots and miniseries just to keep I mean, because DC is technically outselling them, but Marvel's keeping the majority of the market by just sheer production numbers.
As
And you
they
look at
have
the talent
for decades. Yeah,
for decades, yeah, but they have like a Moonstar comic coming out. Look at the talent on it. Like who are these people? I've never seen these names before.
yeah.
And they're well, I'm just waiting until it's just going to say AI. We're not supposed to talk about that, but it's going to say AI in the talent box all the time. But
Well,
DC, I can't say DC is killing it in
they
sales
are.
and quality of their books.
They are. I mean, I use the Ultimate app, the DC Ultimate app, to read most of that stuff. So I get it a month or so late, but and I do the same for Marvel, which theirs are a few months behind. But
Mhm.
there's no competition. I mean, DC is murdering them in terms of quality. They're just eons ahead in terms of making just better books right now. And it's
I
the
mean, they all have
investment
the
in talent and editing. You can tell.
oh, sure. I mean, they both of them have their lower tier books, that nobody, the lesser books that aren't gonna sell that well. But as far as their top tier titles, the argument always with Spider-Man and Batman. Batman's killing Spider-Man in
Yeah,
sales and quality, in my
yeah.
opinion. The and the DC KO event, it's not my cup of tea, but it's fun. It's selling well. People are reading it, And
It's
of course, the
bubblegum type of stuff, popcorn, movie theater
100%.
stuff,
There's
but it is
no
fun.
substance.
It
It's
makes
fun,
no
but it's
sense at all, but it's still kind of a fun read.
are you following it?
Yeah, I've been reading the main title.
Oh,
I've
no.
tried to read a few of the
Yeah.
ancillary ones, and they just lose me because they're trying so hard to not let one hero beat the other for some reason that they're missing a story.
Yeah.
It's just
No.
really flat.
That that
But the
that
main
that
title is just weird enough and stupid enough to be fun, so
right.
I've enjoyed
There's
it.
0 character development in it
Nothing.
whatsoever, but it's
There's
just
nothing, no.
no, but
It's
I found
basically a
myself enjoying.
Superman story, and even he's just running in circles, so,
Well, it's definitely Superman's book, the way
yeah.
they're writing it. Was it who's writing? Is it Jeff Johns? Who's writing that?
No, I don't think they let Johns write
Oh,
stuff
Scott
anymore.
Snyder. Scott Snyder's writing it. Scott Snyder, yeah.
Yeah. So it's gonzo
The
as hell because that's what Snyder does these
yeah,
days, which is cool. I mean,
sure.
somebody's gotta take those swings. I like it.
Well, these guys like Snyder and Joshua Williamson, they're writing books across the board with different companies and all this stuff. The I don't know how they find the time to write that much. They must not have families or something. I don't know.
I think if they're dropping, hefty page rates, you would find the time, you know what I mean? I would
Well, I guess
prioritize
they
too
don't
if
have
that's
to
how I
run
made my money.
they don't have to run the other aspects of the business. I guess if I just
Mm,
could sit and write comics all day, I would.
we pay people to make comics, they get paid to make comics, that's the difference.
Huh, what a
The
concept,
foreign
right?
concept, yes.
Yeah. But, yeah, I'm digging what DC's doing. I'm not really a ma I read a lot of I read the Energon books, that's my jam. The Image comics, and I dip my toes in the different things, but I am caught up in, the DC KO. I'm reading Aquaman. Actually, I just did it today's Tuesday. I shot it real late because of my dental work. I did a Tip Tuesday. My Tip Tuesday, I don't know if it ever falls on deaf ears or whatever, but I find a lot of comic creators don't seem to read comics. And, like, things keep changing. The industry is evolving, the way comics are made is evolving, and it seems a lot of folks are kinda stuck in this whenever they got into comics, that's their purest form of comics, and that's all they write, and they stick into that.
Well, that's the way we are with music. I mean, that's just human nature, unfortunately.
I try not to be.
Our decade of movies was the greatest decade of movies. You know what I mean? We're '80s people, and
Yeah,
it's the greatest decade of movies. Debatable, but that is it's just the way we all think about things. The modern audience, a Gen Alpha or Gen Z or whatever, is going to remember Captain Underpants and Dogman as their gateway to comics because that's real.
sure. Or,
That's the
the
way it
Hulk and,
is.
Fantastic Four, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
The, I don't
The
know, I just
MCU's
find
been
that
so bad they can't even attribute it to that anymore. So
but don't you still try to, as a comic creator, expand how you create? Yeah, I would honestly say you do because
yep.
your team up books, the
The Gothic horror.
Cthulhu Frankenstein, that one,
Yes.
that was a departure from your normal style. I felt there was some growth, not in growth, like you're not bad. I'm not saying that was your pinnacle, but I think there
No,
was definitely a
I definitely think it was a growth experience. It was a different sort of
yeah,
writing experience because it was like, how the hell do I take these characters and make a feasible story that's also fun and also with the sort of Bauhaus Joy Division feel to it that I wanted it to have, and I think I accomplished that on both of those books. I'm working on the third one, and
I haven't
it
opened the
was a
second one
great
yet. Sorry.
exercise.
No, I felt that was a departure for you, and that's where I try to get to. Creators need to keep growing, or they become boring and stagnant. You know?
And look, enjoy comics. Like read something terrible that's just fun for you. That's what I consider KO. It's just super fun. But comics still bring me joy as a consumer, not just as a creator. And and I'm not ashamed to say that I still like silly mainstream superhero comics probably more than anything else.
Well, there's nothing. And again, we just keep using the DCKO since we both read it. There's a certain pace to it, and it's faster than say a normal.
Super fast.
It's a thick book, but it reads pretty quick because it's constantly moving to that next combat
Yeah.
situation. The I know I have to work. I'm always trying to work on how I pace my comics out, and that's an extra. Reading that will help me understand how Snyder does it, and hopefully I can incorporate what I learned from that into my own writing. And that's just what I hope for all creators out there. Because I think that I've said this a million times just to get back into the crowdfunding a little bit. I think crowdfund or Kickstarter, I can speak to all the platforms. Kickstarter, it encourages mediocrity. It doesn't encourage growth or experimentation because once a creator hits on something, they'll just milk it till and
for sure.
I don't know, they think they've reached their plateau and they're just gonna go with that.
But that's the case with any medium though, and you just look at superhero movies, how they plateaued after Endgame, and they've never regained any of that, with
Yeah,
maybe a couple of exceptions, but they're still kind of mired in that same quicksand of mediocrity and complacency, really, that caused them all to fall off in the first place.
100%. To roll the clock back, not to get back to nostalgia, but if you go back to the turn of the century, it's fun to say at my age, the, with, you had the Blade movies, the X-Men movies, you had, the Fantastic Four at the time, and then that led into the kinda DC Batman and those were all different and had a different flavor. They were more cutting I don't say cutting edge because but they definitely had a very much stylistic choice for each of those brands. But now, like, it's all kind of this muddled, mundane sameness. I don't know if it's just that we've reached that point with special effects now. The, again, not to get too deep in the weeds in this, you had Fantastic Four and Superman come out within a week of each other, and they were both kind of about the same. "Eh, alright, saw that, it was cool. It was alright." I thought one was better than the other. I don't know if I wanna
Me
get
too.
into that, uh, but again, there was a certain even the color palettes. Superman was slightly brighter, but just because of his costume, the rest of the movie was virtually the same color palette as the Fantastic Four, which is not much different than the color palette from the Thunderbolts, which was, it's like, it's all kind of this muddled mess now where there's not that kind of, I guess, experimentation like we saw with in before superhero movies were a thing. When you
Well,
had
we go back
really
to the Netflix Daredevil shows, and each one of those
oh yeah.
had its own color palette
Mhm.
and a feel and a vibe and a sense of anxiety
A color
to
palette
each
that was
show.
actually based on the comic it came from too,
Yeah,
you know? Or I mean, even Jessica Jones with purple, but the Purple Man, so
that's right.
the,
The best of those
but
shows,
it
by the way, that first season of Jessica Jones is transcendently amazing. It's
well, that whole I would say I mean, with maybe the exception of Iron Fist, each of those, Luke Cage, Daredevil, and Jessica Jones all had a very, cohesive yet unique flavor to each of them.
yeah, those were the days.
And they're trying to capture that lightning in a bottle again. But I guess we should move into crowdfunding a little bit. I mean, that's your expertise. What are you seeing for the future of Kickstarter? Not just for yourself, but because you see everything. You're the all knowing. You're Uatu of Kickstarter.
Well, thinking, just
You should
of
embrace that. Get a big giant watcher head.
well, it wouldn't take much. Yeah, it's not going to change much. We've fallen into a pattern. Last year I was really breaking down the finances of the different comics that were launched by genre, and I did it for 4 months in a row, and the numbers stayed almost identical, which is a really bizarre thing when you consider that these are all primarily individual creators launching comics. But you ended up with about 40% of launches being not safe for work comics that dominated about 60% of the finances of the
That's wild.
category. Um, and that's still the case now. I mean, it was that way for 4 months in a row. It's still the case now. And I don't know if the change in the Kickstarter lead is going to do anything. We don't know who the next guy is or the next girl.
Do we need one? I mean, it's not the last. No offense to the last guy if he's watching. I'm sure he's not.
Oh,
I don't know they
there,
did all that much that was positive for the Kickstarter.
well, just not much being done at all, unfortunately. And unless you were close friends with this person. But there was a time when there were Kickstarter leads that were actually aggressive with recruiting people to the platform that weren't just multi-million dollar corporations or Hollywood stars or um yeah, we'll stick with that. Um and they were recruiting talent and people who make different kinds of comics about different kinds of topics, and then they were nurturing the people that were succeeding from a lower end standpoint in terms of notoriety and helping them boost their profile through Kickstarter. That hasn't been happening.
Mm.
That hasn't been happening at all. And you can just look at the projects we love, and how I've pointed out 3 or 4 times over the past 12, 16 months that those are primarily reserved for 5 to 7 figure campaigns. Less than half would go to campaigns that didn't make that kind of money, and then they were reserved for um, familiar faces. Just leave it at that.
The what do you, I mean, Kickstarter is a business. They're obviously
And
going
that's
to want to.
fair. And I said that from the beginning, but you can do both, and they have done both in the past. Supporting the business and lifting up people with revolutionary ideas, with cutting edge technique and story, and help those people become bigger on the platform. And that this sort of thing just has not been happening. So I'm hoping to see more of that. I love seeing Kickstarter succeed in comics. I love seeing the giant high dollar campaigns. That's good for everybody. There's no evidence that that's bad for anybody. But when that's the sole focus of the platform in terms of promotion is problematic. When and not filtering the not safe for work comics out into their own category. I wouldn't say category, into their own search function.
Label?
Let's put it that
Yeah.
way, search filter, so that the average Joe who's not there for porn can jump on the search and look for comics. And if he's looking for something that's just boneheaded superhero stuff, there's a lot of that on Kickstarter. But then he's going to see it next to bondage porn that's unfiltered or uncensored in terms of the Kickstarter art cover, and that turns people off. I made this case for Lord since July of 24, and you know what they did in response to that information? They made a newsletter inviting people to come
Right.
see more
We
porn
did a live
comics
stream
on
about it.
Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Which did that ever
They,
get past one
not to
newsletter?
me.
I don't think it did. I don't think it made it
Mm.
past one. But still, it's
That
kind of a slap in the face to a lot of people who think that everybody benefits if there's a filter for not safe for work comics. If that's what you're looking for, you can find it all. If it's
right.
not, you
Put it
don't
all
have to see
together
any
for
of
you.
it. That's right. It doesn't
But
hurt
is
anybody. And in fact, I
the
think
question
everybody
is
benefits. But who knows?
is
I
it
don't think
two
that's going to
separate
happen.
audiences? Is it two
Hmm?
separate audiences, or is it
No,
just the same audience that likes our
there's
comics likes porn too?
there's definitely bleed. There's definitely a Venn diagram where that crosses over, and I can't say how much of that crossover there is. However, there's also a significant number of people that don't go to Kickstarter to see that. And I have no
The
problem with it. I have no problem with it being there. I have no problem um, creating or consuming rated R plus comics, but we have to be considerate of the rest of the audience that may or may not be comfortable with that, and make room for everybody.
well, we
It's
talked about
just that
this
it's
before.
become so dominant.
Right, it's the we talk about the analogy of the video store. You don't put the porno movies at the front counter. They go back behind a curtain because somebody's there looking for Bambi, and they're not
Yeah,
looking for Bambi and Thumper, you know what I'm saying?
Thumper, I barely knew her, but
Ow.
but
Hopefully people
it
are
doesn't
watching
even have
because
to
it's
be that.
quality comedy.
It can be the it doesn't even have to be that extreme. It doesn't have to be behind a curtain. It could just be over here,
Right,
just through an extra click to get to all that. And then it filters out all the stuff that you're not looking for if that's primarily what you're looking for.
right.
Everybody benefits because right now, even here at the end of January, we're back over 200 projects. In another 4 weeks, we're going to be over 300 projects again. It's impossible to find anything. At some point, you're facing the same problem that the Diamond catalog had with just saturation. And you can only read so many thumbnail descriptions at a time. And before you get bored, before you just give up, because, it's no insult to anybody to say that most of the comics on Kickstarter are not going to be attractive to most people just from a quality standpoint. There are a lot that are. but I don't think most are.
Right.
And
The,
that's testament to the fact that you've got a lot of startups, a lot of novices that one day will make great comics. I believe that. But right now, when you first start out, my first comic didn't look great, didn't read great.
Sure.
And that's the case with anybody. You start off, and Kickstarter gives people the opportunity to start and grow. Some people
Well,
do,
I
some
see that's
people
where
don't.
I disagree. I don't think it gives you the growth because if you launch, I've seen plenty of Kickstarter creators who I'm not gonna name names, who I've actually watched their quality go down because there's no incentive to increase the quality because they bring the backers every time because of, their online personas and all these other factors at play, where back when you would put out a comic and it was garbage and you'd be at a convention, pros or semi-pros would go, "Hey, this isn't maybe you wanna work on this, maybe you wanna work on that." I don't think Kickstarter really provides that kind of feedback because if I launch a Kickstarter for garbage comic number 1 and I hit $2,000 because of my interactions in social medias and I got the right cross promotion put in place, I'm just gonna put out garbage comic number 2,
Yeah.
because why would I ever improve if I'm already hitting it? That's actually what I find, and it frustrates me. There's a very popular, Kickstarter podcast for comic creators. I won't name names, but we know who I'm talking about, and I really enjoy the podcast, but it's always about how to market your comic, seldom how to actually make a better comic. It's like, "Well, I make a junk comic. Well, let me tell you how you can market and sell it to 100 people." Well, that's
Well,
why don't we tell them how to make better comics or how to,
there's
improve
other
the
resources
quality?
out there, but they're harder to find, I think.
I just find
Don't
it's not in this crowdfunding space, this initiative to make better comics. It's just to make more money or sell more units.
Yeah, but I think the people that do actually get better do sell more down in the long run. If they're selling well at the start, they're gonna sell more because they get better. Um,
You would hope.
but
You would hope.
anyway, I think, getting back to just the outlook for Kickstarter, I think it's pretty much status quo. It's a winning formula because they're making plenty of money through the category, and, most people are able to make enough to are they're smarter to manage their finances in such a way that they're able to recoup enough to keep making comics. I mean, it's worked for me for a long time, and as much as I'd
Well,
like to advance, and we have made some inroads in other areas, but it's a trickle, not a flood.
I don't know if we've all been at a convention together, but have you ever met Mark and Cece with Attic Door Media?
I think I know CC through Substack.
Yeah, she's big on Substack. The
Yep.
company's Actor Media. They're actually looking to move from Kickstarter to BackerKit as their primary source. They do well with the pins and all that, but they feel that BackerKit's doing different things with these special events and stuff.
Yeah,
Do you think if Kickstarter implemented something like that, it would improve the app? Or
they do, but I don't think it really makes a difference. I mean, they're the witch starters in October. They make 100 in January, but it's just kind of there. It's just another search term. It bumps you up in the algorithm a little bit, similar to the way that Projects We Love does. It's not a huge bump, but it's a
did?
little bump.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, honestly, I only make a big deal about Projects We Love because of the selection criteria or lack thereof. Otherwise, it's not really a big deal. When I've received it, I don't think it made a damn bit of difference in my funding. There's just sort of feather in the cap, uh,
And
some
it
sort
gives you a marketing thing to
some
put
sort
in
of
there.
creative vindication. but but
Yeah.
I'm not sure that it made any difference in the funding.
Oh, we
It's
have a
just
big question from Matt here. My question is it just Kickstarter that causes people to not want to improve and chase dollars? I feel that it's any business anywhere. Marvel and DC don't care about quality. I disagree with that. They care about sales first and foremost, right? Well, with when you're on a rack when somebody's buying your product monthly, if the quality drops, the dollars drop. I'll tell you
yeah.
that. I've dropped books that, they'll change artists or creative teams, or they'll even change, story directions, and I'll drop the title based on that. The So I do think when you're in a business where you're direct see, Kickstarter is kind of a direct to consumer, but it's not this constant giving back and forth, like, say the direct market is. This is all my opinion, I'm not speaking for Kevin. Uh, what that if you don't maintain a certain level of quality, your sales drop. It's evident. Marvel's bottom tier comics sell worse than, independent comics. They don't care that some of their books don't hit the numbers, they just wanna keep their shelf space full. The, so, yeah, I definitely think there is a quality issue when you're doing a constant business with customers, like I say in the direct market, where Kickstarter gives you 6 months between releases. It's all about hyping the campaign. It's about the marketing behind the campaign, less about, "Hey, did you like issue 1? Well, issue 2 is better. We've gotten better. Issue 2 is better. Issue 3 is gonna be even better." Or our new series, we took what we learned from the last one. You never This is not a marketing term Kickstarter people use. They don't say, "Hey, our last series was great. This one's better because we've gotten better." It's just market, 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 promote, promote, promote. Kickstarter gets funded, go away, come back and do it again. That's what I mean when I say the encouragement for quality isn't there in crowdfunding as much as it is, say, in the direct market or any other, like, even conventions. When I was doing conventions, like, every single month, there was a idea that I had to make sure my books were getting better, so when people came back to my table, they would see that my product is improving. Kevin, do you disagree with this? Am I just rambling like a crazy old man?
No, I
How
agree
can
to an extent. But at the end of the day, I think people who want to make better comics are going to find ways to improve their talent and to improve their skill, to improve their craft. And, things like we were talking about branching out into different genres or putting story challenges in front of yourself as a writer that you have to then go and solve, or as an artist, trying a different style or changing up how you work up composition for a page or a cover and challenging yourself rather than doing the same old thing. Some people are content doing the same old thing. Most people are going to be content doing the same old thing to earn money, whether it's through crowdfunding or the direct market or elsewhere. I mean, we're all trained from birth in this world, in this society, to do the same old thing every week to get a paycheck. So mediocrity is ingrained from the get go. And not many people, I think a vast minority of people, feel a motivation to get better at what they do if it's not going to benefit them financially. But there are people that do. And I can tell you, I've seen people on Kickstarter that get phenomenally better, whether their funding increases or not. And, part of the fun to me is, can I get better? Can I make something that reads better than what I wrote 10 years ago, 5 years ago?
100%.
And, I've decided 2 or 3 years ago to end all the titles that I was working on at that time because I started them working with friends or local artists, and they have jobs and families and illnesses like everybody that slow things down. That took, 5 to 10 years to complete a 4-issue limited series. But we're working on scripts that I wrote in 2012,
Right.
and I want to work on scripts that I wrote in 2025, right, or 2026. So I made that
Push us
change,
forward.
and
I'll
that's.
take what I can get. Yeah.
But there are people that are working to get better. It's just not most people. Um,
Well,
but I
let's
do
use this
see
as
it.
a segue. Let's
Yep.
segue this into, again, trying new things and doing kinds of experimenting. We have a project. We should pimp that now because it's about that time.
Yep.
We have a project that we'll be launching on Kickstarter. I'd hoped February 1st. It looks like it'll probably be mid-February because we're still waiting on some art. Which for me is a whole new experience because I've never written anything that. Would you say it's a mature comic? The more I think about it,
No, I think
I mean, it's just
it's more of an '80s like teen comedy level
with
of
a
maturity.
twist.
Yeah, it's definitely twisted, but I don't think it's a mature comic as much as it's like a National Lampoon sort of comedy is what is the kind of vibe I think it has from a fun standpoint.
But then there's about 6 pages that are dark and super twisted,
Yeah, that's part of the
or 5
fun.
and a half.
When that happens, I think it's funny.
Yeah, we're working on a book. We can say it. It's called Turbo Teenager or Turbocharged Teenager. It's the story of a boy who gets teenage boy who gets zapped through some weird experiment and is merged with his car, but they don't exist at the same time. Either he's the teenage boy or he transforms into the car. This might sound like an '80s TV show you watched growing up. Um, not many people watched it, but the concept was to take that concept and kind of twist it, make it a little more modern, and mix this kind of cartoony thing with body horror, which is why we're doing the book together because Kevin's the horror guy who knows all about that sort of stuff with his years and years of vicious circus and other dark twists. So yeah, it's going to be hopefully launching mid February. The pre-launch page is live, but I don't have it really ready for public consumption yet because I'm still trying to figure out that logo. The it's what's the name of the guy who's drawn it? Because I don't.
Ian Warianto
Ian Warianto. Thank you. That's what I could never have tried to
and
say
colored
that.
by Anton Bandy.
Yes, with additional pages that he hasn't started working on yet, but hopefully soon by Oscar Pinto,
The great Oscar Pinto, yeah.
who is a great horror artist.
Yep.
So we're actually mixing two genres or art styles together. It's going to have this kind of cartoony vibe, and then when you turn the page and he transforms into the vehicle, it's going to turn into grotesque body horror.
It really has a weird science kind of vibe to me in terms of
Okay.
having that science that kind of edge to it, but still having the comedy. So
Well, think about what happened to poor Chet in Weird Science. That was body horror to say the least.
thankfully that's not a scene in our book, but yeah, Chet.
Maybe the next one.
But yeah, we're looking at that for February. I've got
Yeah.
all the initial art pages in, about half of it's colored, and then we're gonna get Oscar to finish up his part. That's gonna really
Yep.
put the capper on this.
And one of the covers is going to be by Larry Watts, who, speaking of quality, I got to say, I got it right here. Larry Watts is a great artist. He did a lot of great work for Dynamite and other publishers along the way, Zenoscope, the Robin Hood book. But he did his own book earlier last year on Kickstarter called Ghost Baby. This is his best work ever. I mean, his art in this is just amazing. So I guess when you do something for yourself, maybe you try a little harder than you do for Zenoscope or whatever. Or he's just evolved as an artist, and that's where he is now.
It happens.
And I showed you the cover he did. He's almost finished coloring it. Yeah, so again, back to pushing yourself to grow. That's definitely something I've seen from Larry and other artists I've worked with over the years.
Yeah.
Frankly, if I'm still working with them, they're still growing. If I'm not, maybe they got stagnant.
So looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. We'll obviously be seeing announcements about that. Your Kickstarter just wrapped earlier. How did you do? You feel good about it?
Not really.
Oh, well, it's a
If
good
I'm being
concept.
honest about it, had a great first day and then it just kind of disappeared. So I'm not sure, but I'll do a nice postmortem and make some determinations about how to change things up going forward. So
Well, I was excited about it because it was something new
it
and
started
different.
off like gangbusters and just kind of fell apart. But we have to be honest with ourselves when things don't go right and make a good, clean assessment and prepare things for next time. So, but I'm
But
sending it to the printer
even when
tomorrow. So the book is
even
done.
when real quick, even if they do go right, you still need to do the post board. I mean, you need to see
Absolutely.
what went right, and double down on that next time. So,
Yeah. I think I have a clear understanding on this one, but I'm going to look in the numbers and see what happens. So, but
okay.
anyway, thanks for everybody who supported it. You're going to get a
Yeah.
really fun comic, a really beautiful comic.
And thanks for everybody who I guess watched this. I guess it's time to wrap this thing up, huh?
Yeah. My kid's
About
waiting downstairs to watch Wonder Man. So I'm going to cut this
Oh, is that
off
on
and,
now? That come out?
yeah, all eight drop tonight. So
Oh wow, dude. I didn't
hearing
even
good things.
Oh good. Marvel News. All I know is that the guy from the Mandarin's in it. So I gotta watch it for that.
Yeah. The bathroom humor guy. Yeah.
Sir Ben
Who
Kingsley.
also
Yes.
was Gandhi. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Won an Oscar for Gandhi. Now he's doing this. Yeah, career choices. Yeah.
all right, everybody. Thanks. Thanks for hanging out. We had 7 to 9 people the whole time. We enjoyed it. And we'll do this again soon.
We'll catch you on the replay. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Have a good night.
First in line.